All right, here we go, guys. I got a Peterson, I got a Shapiro, I got a Weinstein, I got a Rubin. I feel I should go to you first because
choosing a Canadian.
Yeah.
There it is.
I saw that movie. It was pretty good.
Not bad.
All right, you're on Real Time tonight, and I thought that it's an interesting little piece of all of this because we're sort of all out of the mainstream, but we kind of dance in there every now and again. You probably dance in there a little more than the rest of us. You going to smack around Maher tonight or what?
You know, I think that it'll probably be pretty cordial. I mean, I think that Maher is secretly one of us. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Maher is tired of his show was called Politically Incorrect. I mean, I think that he is tired of the identity politics. I think he's tired of the intersectional nonsense. I think that he wants to have some open conversations. I just think that he's tied politically to the left. So I'll be interested to see how much of that he goes after. You know, how much Trump talk there is, which I find utterly uninteresting, is the truth, and how much of it will be about kind of broader issues of freedom of speech and civility and having decent conversations. Because I think that he's on the right side of those issues. I mean, I've played him on my show, right? And I disagree with him on everything politically, but I played clips of him on my show specifically on those issues and him cracking the whip on people on the identity politics nonsense, and I think we're on the same page there.
Well, if he wants to be an effective advocate for the left, he should lead the march in dissociating the moderate left from the radical, unreasonable left. Someone's got to do it because the strategy that they're abiding by right now is pretty damn self-destructive. And he's in a good position to do that, and I think he's motivated to do it because he is a free speech guy, being a comedian and everything.
It's risky. I think you take your life in your hands if you're the leftist who says that right now. If you're the person on the left who does this, I mean, you did it and survived. But that's
I'm retired from the left.
That's
now.
right. You found a bunch of new friends, right? I mean, that's really what people have to understand is that when you take these positions, yes, there are going to be a lot of people who decide that you are Satan, but there's going to be a whole lot of people who are your new friends, who are ready to have these conversations, which is why, you know, again, this sort of IDW term that Eric coined is so fascinating because everyone disagrees with everyone about nearly everything in this group. But because we don't want to shut down the conversation, it's created this whole audience for every one of us. Like each one of us, our audience has increased tremendously just by being part of conversations with one another.
So that's it to me. What is it you guys think about us? And this wider group,
awesome,
and just the awesomeness and the amazingness and all that. But like-minded people, we just happen to be the examples that are sitting here. That it is for all the differences that we've talked about on gay marriage and abortion and death penalty and all of these things that I know we all have various disagreements on. Why are we all okay with that? And so many people outside of this seem to not be okay.
Well, I think it has to do with the fact that most of us are confident. There's a sort of a principle of faith in rationality that I'm not that worried about a lot of the things that the far left is very concerned about because I have an idea that more or less if you do the reasoning correctly, everything is going to work out pretty much okay. And I think that we have the dexterity in changing our minds, admitting that when we're wrong, when we've changed a perspective, stealing each other's ideas and giving credit, so that I have a sense that if Ben and I have not gone toe-to-toe on abortion, for example, and I have an idea of the outlines of his position, he probably has some idea of mine, but my guess is that he's not going to go bananas on spermicide, and I'm not going to be advocating for the right to abort a child a day before its due date, except for extraordinary circumstances. And even then, I'm not sure. But I think that what it is a certain kind of confidence that you can allow the other person in a discussion to actually have a genuine position and that you can contend with it. And what we need to do is to push out more of the cognitive Lego that gives us that confidence to more people so that they can say, I don't need to fear the, pro-choice and pro-life are both really limited positions, in my opinion. And it's just an example of one of many things that we have gained the confidence with each other that it's not going to devolve into name calling if everybody plays in an honest fashion and uses the full capacity.
That's where it is. I mean, the honest fashion thing is, I think, what counts. I asked Sam about this earlier, so I was just doing a podcast with Sam, right? Because we all hang out together. It's pathetic. Our little social circle is 7 people.
Lunch with his mother was more important than us.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
but what I asked Sam about this, and what Sam said is that he thinks that what has changed is that there's a bunch of us who are not interested in the stupidest version of the argument.
Right.
So if I want to hear a pro-choice argument, I want to hear the most sophisticated version of the pro-choice argument, and then see if I make an argument against that. I don't want the simplistic version of the pro-choice argument just so I can knock down the simplistic version of the pro-choice argument. Yes, it makes for a great Ben Shapiro Destroys video, but it's more fun for me. Like personally, I really much more enjoy engaging with the best ideas that somebody else has to offer than engaging with the worst ideas that you can pick out of a hat on Twitter.
That's really
Well, so, I mean, one of the things that was useful for me, for example, in this protracted discussion with Sam, is that my arguments are better now than they were. And you might say, well, why do you care if your arguments are better? And the reason I care about whether my arguments are better is because I know that my arguments are part of the toolkit that I use to operate effectively in the world. Like, arguments aren't just some abstraction that you hold that's disconnected from your actions in the world. And if my arguments are more fine-tuned and sharper, and if I'm able to account for a wider range of phenomena because someone has put forward facts that were hard for me to incorporate, then my toolbox is much more efficient and I can operate more effectively in the world. So I find it, well, it's a variant of your position. It's like, I want to hear the best versions of the arguments that run counter to mine, because I'd like to figure out where I'm wrong, and I'd like to make what I'm doing better. And that's more important to me. It is literally more important to me than making sure that what I already know is right. Like, I'm confident in what I know, but I also know that I could do a better job of expressing it, that it could be, the system could be more dynamic, it could take more things into account. Like, I've got plenty to learn. And a real discussion with someone who objects to you, that's where you learn. So
I think
more power to that.
Temperamentally, I would say that I think there's a pretty easy test, which is when someone catches you out on a part of the argument that you've made, that you know was flawed, and someone catches you out, do you smile or do you get angry? Right? I think it really is almost that easy, because the truth is that there is something fun about the idea of having to rethink your position, and something adventurous about the idea that you haven't thought everything through, that there are these new vistas of thought that maybe you haven't considered before, and it does hone you, it makes you better at it. And it also allows you to, listen, life is funny, and it's funny that we're flawed human beings, that our logic is flawed. So there's a certain humor to the idea that somebody is exposing a rift in your thinking that you now have to deal with. It makes life fun. If you were just a stone all the time, it would be really boring.